Pleasure is like a river. It always flows somewhere. If there's something, an obstacle in its way, like a river, pleasure will find a way around that obstacle. And if it is dammed up, chances are it's only going to be dammed up for so long before it breaks through, even if that's hundreds or 200s of years in the case of a river. In the case of a human, it could be 2 months, 2 years, what have you. And that's a dangerous thing because our nature is to chase pleasure and to avoid pain. And oftentimes we try and deprive ourselves of stuff that causes us short-term pleasure in a result to get things that cause us long-term pleasure. Okay, it's something I advocate. Almost always the long-term decision is the better decision. Almost always sacrificing the short-term payoff in consistent happiness over long term. The problem is, and this is specific to entrepreneurs and sales guys, is you eat a lot of pain on a daily basis. You're doing things that other people won't do. You're taking on more stress. And it's something that Robert Greene points out in his great book, The Laws of Human Nature. He says that with rising stress, there will be emotional leakage. Don't think that you're immune to this. And this has always been my case in the past. A lot of the time it would be with eating, like a pizza or something. Weight has never been a problem, but more the clean eating. When I was younger, in my early 20s, it was marijuana. In sales, pretty much every sales guy is a weekend alcoholic. I wasn't, but most of the guys that I worked with were. They would smoke weed every night, or have problems with junk food, or a combination of the above. The vast majority of, if you make it to 45, 55 and you're still in sales, the vast majority of those guys are well overweight because they're eating a significant amount of stress throughout the day. They're in pain, so that makes you aggressively chase pleasure. The more pain you deal with, the more aggressively you want to chase pleasure somewhere else. Because pleasure won't be denied. For people who've had terrible lives and significant amount of pain, or they're in prison, they go all the way to heroin. Pleasure won't be denied. So it's almost like the amount of pain is so great that it causes them to aggressively seek such an extreme solution, like injecting black tar heroin in a prison in a homemade needle. Okay, that's the amount of pain that these people are in. But pleasure still won't be denied, and it's just flowing into a much more aggressive solution. Obviously, a bad solution. That being said, there is one caveat to this. It is like progressive resistance, meaning if you overwhelm yourself with a ton of stress, okay, chances are there's going to be some leakage there. I'm in disagreement with Robert Greene to a degree in the sense of you can take on more stress over periods of time when you're built into it, when you're worked into it, when it's you're progressively desensitized to that and to dealing with that. Like what I'm saying is you get tougher over time, significantly. And this is something that's been very much my experience. So pleasure's a river. It is going to flow. It has to flow somewhere, okay? And that can be really dangerous if it's flowing in the wrong direction for you, okay? Into drugs, into alcohol, into risky behaviors, all that stuff, in response to the increasing demands of what it takes to be successful in sales or entrepreneurship. So, the first method for dealing with that is progressive resistance, okay? To the point where, in smaller increments, you get used to the pain and it becomes sort of the new normal. Just like, if I was going to go to the gym today, it's not, it's so much easier for me to lift a weight than it was 17 years ago when it was really painful for me to get that up. So progressive resistance, taking on small amounts of pain that won't cause emotional leakage and then adapting to that over time, and then it won't be this massive amount of pain which will cause you for an aggressive solution. The second thing, and this is the big one, is doing something that you enjoy. And by that I mean there's going to be a lot of things in your business that you don't want to do, or things in the gym or whatever, but it's converting your mentality to an achievement mentality instead of a short-term pleasure-seeking mentality. Meaning you want to get your mentality around to where you enjoy the gym, because everything you've linked to it is a gain. You're linked towards your gains. You're linked towards you get a sense of pride from going to the gym every day. You get a sense of pride from accomplishing tasks. You wake up to get things done. If you're in a purely pleasure-seeking mentality, there's no stopping the depths of how low you could fall. But when you're in an achievement-seeking mentality, when you get high on achievement, when you get high off of getting things done on your Wonder List or your Tick, if you're following my organizational system, how to get organized, it's a game changer, because now you've switched the source of pleasure to being organized, being consistent, moving forward on your goals, gains in the gym, how much money you made this month, how much money you're scheduled to make for the quarter.